Shetch Lof written in Zin. The confession booth smelled of ancient wood and older secrets. Father Marcus had heard thousands of confessions in his 30 years at St. Catherine's, but none quite like the one that began on that rain-swept November evening. "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." The voice was soft, feminine, trembling with something Marcus couldn't quite place. Not shame, but perhaps resignation. "How long has it been since your last confession, my child?" A pause. Rain drummed against the stained glass windows. "I've never confessed this particular sin, Father. I'm not sure I want to now, but the weight of it? The weight is crushing me." Her voice broke. Marcus leaned closer to the latticed screen. "God's mercy is infinite. Whatever burden you carry, He can—" "It's not God's mercy, I doubt, Father. It's my own willingness to let it go." And so she told him. Her name was Elena, though she asked him not to remember it. She had been a nurse at Mercy General Hospital for 7 years when Dr. James Winters arrived, newly divorced, brilliantly talented, and heartbreakingly lonely. They were both broken people mending other people's brokenness, she said, and perhaps that was the original sin, believing they could heal each other when they couldn't heal themselves. Their love began innocently enough: coffee in the break room, conversations about patients that stretched beyond professional necessity, a shared recognition of wounds that mirrored each other's. James had lost his marriage to his work. Elena had lost her faith in love to a string of men who took more than they gave. "We promised ourselves we'd stay professional," Elena whispered through the screen. "We promised, Father, but promises are such fragile things when you're drowning and someone offers you air." The affair began on a Tuesday. Elena remembered because Tuesday was her mother's birthday, and she'd left the hospital party early, overwhelmed by guilt about forgetting to call. James had found her crying in the parking garage. He'd held her, and the holding had become kissing, and the kissing had become everything they'd sworn it wouldn't. For 6 months, they existed in stolen moments. His car, her apartment, hotel rooms when they could justify the expense. They wrote their love in the margins of other people's lives, in the spaces between responsibility and recklessness. "I knew it was wrong," Elena said. "Every Sunday I'd sit in the pews, and Father Vincent would talk about righteousness and moral clarity, and I'd feel the weight of my sin like stones in my pockets. But Monday would come, and I'd see James, and the stones would become feathers." Marcus found himself leaning forward, drawn into her story despite himself. "What changed?" he asked gently. Sarah changed. His daughter. James's 12-year-old daughter had started cutting herself. Small lines on her arms at first, then deeper gouges. She'd been angry about the divorce, James told Elena, and now she was acting out. But Elena knew better. She was a trauma nurse. She recognized the signs of a child who felt invisible, abandoned by a father too consumed by his own desires to see her pain. Elena had begged James to stop, to focus on Sarah, to be the father his daughter needed. He'd agreed, pulled away, recommitted to his family. For 3 weeks, Elena had done the right thing. She'd stayed away, thrown herself into work, tried to convince herself that sacrifice was its own form of love. Then Sarah had attempted suicide. "I heard the call come in over the radio," Elena said, her voice barely audible. 12-year-old female, overdose, unresponsive. When they brought her in, when I saw her face—" She choked on the words. "Ich knew, Father. I knew this was my doing. Not directly, perhaps, but the butterfly beats its wings, doesn't it?" Sarah survived. The overdose had been more cry for help than genuine attempt, the doctors said, but Elena couldn't survive what she'd done. She broke off the affair completely, requested a transfer to a different hospital, and tried to bury her sin beneath layers of good deeds. "That was 4 years ago," Elena said. 4 years, Father, and I still can't sleep, because here's my real sin, the one that damns me. I don't regret loving him. I regret the consequences, the pain we caused, the selfishness. But the love itself," her voice cracked, "that felt like the only pure thing in my entire wrecked life. And how can something so beautiful be so completely wrong?" Marcus sat in silence, weighing his response. Outside, the rain had intensified, turning the world liquid and uncertain. "May I tell you a story?" he finally asked. "Isn't that supposed to be my job?" "Indulge an old priest." Elena murmured her assent. 35 years ago, Marcus began, I was engaged to be married. Her name was Catherine. Yes, like the saint, like this church. She was everything good in the world, and I loved her more than I thought it possible to love another human being. He paused, remembering her laugh, her hands, the way she'd read poetry aloud in bed. 3 months before our wedding, I received my calling. Not a whisper, but a shout. God wanted me for the priesthood. It was unmistakable, unavoidable, and it destroyed us both. Catherine begged me not to go. She said we could serve God together, that married love was holy too. She was right, of course, but my calling was specific. What happened to her? Elena asked softly. She married someone else, a good man. They have 4 children now. I've watched from a distance, praying for her happiness, tortured by the certainty that I broke something irreplaceable between us. Do you regret it? Every single day, Marcus said, and not at all. Both things are true simultaneously, Elena. That's the mystery of being human. We can love what we shouldn't love. We can do the right thing and still break our hearts doing it. We can carry sin and grace in the same hands. He heard her crying now, soft sobs that shook the wooden partition. Your sin wasn't loving James, Marcus continued. Love itself can never be sinful. It's too close to the divine nature for that. Your sin was the choices you made in service of that love. The deception, the prioritizing of your desires over a child's well-being. But Elena, listen to me. The fact that you carry this guilt, that you stopped, that you've spent 4 years trying to atone, that's grace working in you. I don't feel forgiven. Forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a choice, repeated daily, sometimes hourly. Marcus gave her penance, not punishment, but prescription. Service at a youth crisis center. Letters to Sarah, even if never sent, pouring out the apology she carried. Prayer, not for absolution, but for peace. And Elena, write it down. Every beautiful moment with James, every terrible consequence, all of it. Write your love, write your sin, and then decide whether you can forgive yourself, because God already has. After she left, Marcus sat alone in the booth, listening to the rain, thinking about Catherine, about the loves we choose and the loves that choose us, about sin and grace written in the same impossible hand. He emerged to find a note slipped under the door. Thank you, Father, for seeing the whole truth, not just the sin but the love, for knowing they can exist together. Maybe that's what makes us human, eh? Marcus smiled sadly, tucking the note into his breviary, adding it to his collection of confessions and consolations, all the broken, beautiful stories that made up a life. Outside, the rain was stopping. Through the stained glass, late sun broke through clouds, painting the world in fractured color, every shade containing others, nothing pure, everything redeemed.